And make it go. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Well, thanks for coming out. Looks like we have a good turnout. I was thinking I would have like one person, my wife, because I didn't know, whether you guys would be here or not. I had no way to know. So I think Amethel and Lois did a really good job of advertising it. And thank you so much, ladies, for inviting me out. The show looks great. It really is wonderful to help you guys out. And the the reason I'm doing this is not for money. It's because I really enjoy helping people get better photographs. And we used to do it for money. We started out in the photo clubs, and that was just for fun. That was in the days of slides. And then I got to be down the road. And this is my wife, Elena. We were we were shooting every day, just maniacs. We went into the business. I'll get into that. So, who here has done photographs at the park? Everybody, pretty much. Anybody?
Work for Safari Park?
I didn't. No, I just they allowed me to go in there for years, and we were at the safari park almost every day for about 5 or 6 years, and then we kept going. After I retired, I still had a bunch of clients that wanted me to take them there. We ran photo tours all over San Diego. We occasionally would go to Orange County and Los Angeles, but mostly San Diego. And so, what are you guys using for equipment at the park? Who's shot there? Okay, like what would you use? What kind of equipment are you guys using? Canon, zoom lens, or big lens, or you bring one of those giant lenses, or you have a whole collection?
Yeah,
Great.
sometimes you can get a shot with your long lens, your 600, that you can't get with
Right,
anything in between.
definitely. So how about the rest of you? You guys use long lenses or just regular zoom?
Canon with zoom,
What length zoom?
28 to 300.
28-300. And then how about cameras? You guys have any particular cameras?
I have a Canon.
Now, are you using the 1.6 crop body or the full frame?
This one's a 1.6.
1.6. See, that'll give you a pretty big advantage. A lot of people don't realize that. The 1.6, they're called APS-C cameras. They actually would turn a 100 to 400 into a 160 to 640, right? So you're going to get a lot of extra reach with the camera that a lot of people think, oh, you don't want to use a crop body, but it's handy when you're at the zoo or the wild animal park. So let's go. The route we're going to show you is the route we typically took while we were on tours. And we would often do tours here 7 days a week. It was pretty surprising. So first place you want to go to the lions because they are sleeping 21 hours a day. If you can believe that, what a life. But if you go there first thing in the morning, they let them out of their sleeping enclosure and they run around and they have lots of romping and they were yawning and stretching and doing all kinds of things. So start at the lions and then we're going to drop down the hill to the cheetah and, oh no, we're going to go actually just across, drop down the hill to the flamingo. These guys are down in that big lake at the far south end of the park. Then we're going to go across the big pond to the hornbills and over to the secretary birds right next to the hornbills. So we're on a route. We're not just wandering aimlessly.
How close to these birds are you when you shoot this?
These guys, you can almost touch them, this particular bird. Everybody's unique. Like, for example, these guys tend to be far away. If you're lucky, they'll come right up to the edge of the enclosure, but they can run way into the back. This is a very large enclosure.
When I went to Safari Park in February, all the birds were in quarantine because the bird flu, and we didn't get to see the birds.
Rats.
Yeah.
You're always, a victim of circumstances there. We've seen all kinds of things happen, but hopefully the COVID thing is over and the bird flu thing is over. So anyway, you can get real close to these guys. They're quite the characters. You're up on a ramp. You're looking down on them, so it's quite easy to get a nice picture. around these are really contrasty compared to my monitor. But anyway, these guys are called Egyptian vultures, and they're right in the same neighborhood. And then we're going to actually go back up the elevator that we came down to get to the lions. We're going to go to the gorilla enclosure and then over to the meerkats. Now these guys dig up their enclosures a lot, so they get moved. They'll be in an enclosure for about 2 months and they'll just rip it to shreds. So they keep moving them about. They're avid diggers. And then this is number 10. This is a hyacinth or a blue macaw. And that is our last. So we've made a loop. We started with the lions, we've gone all the way around the bend and we've come right back. So these guys are right by the entrance. So how did we figure this stuff out? Well, I was an avid photographer back in the film days. I've been doing photography all my life. And one of the best things that one of my mentors, Vivian Peller, told me, she goes, you don't need all these big lenses. Use your own 2 feet. So I said, okay, I got a wetsuit and tried to get closer to the shorebirds. Wasn't close enough. So I went ahead and saved my money and got a big 500 millimeter lens. And that was back before the cameras had a big LCD. They were very small. And so we used to have to use a light meter because we couldn't really even see what was going on. But those days are long gone, thankfully. And after I was in a lot of the different photo clubs, I decided that I wanted to go into one that wasn't for competition. Not that there was anything wrong with competition, but I wanted to go into one that was more just share your images. So eventually I became president of the Sierra Club photo section. And they're still active. They're online now strictly. But I was on and off, I've been president of that club for the last 20 years. So digital photography became affordable around 2003. I bought my first digital camera. And all of a sudden, it became very popular. So when I was the president of the photo club at the Sierra Club, I ran every week or every month, we did outings. And I was also the outing leader. Is this kind of boomy? I think maybe I can you hear me without it? Not really, okay, I'll stick with this. So anyway, I started doing tours all over San Diego County for the club, and we had a tremendous showing. Here's Ian's here today. That's my wife Elena. We had a lot of people that were eventually became clients after I went into business. So a lot of my friends said, "Well, why don't you do it? It's a business." So I hired a webmaster. This was back in '08 when you couldn't just put a picture up online. You had to have somebody that knew what he was doing to put a picture up. It was a big deal. So we built a website, and so my webmaster said, "Well, you got to charge a lot of money," because he wanted to be paid well too, right? So he goes, "Do a whole day for $950." And I go, "Nobody's going to do that. That's way too much money." And so he said, "Launch the thing. You can always lower the price." All right. So he launched it. First day we sold 5 tours. I was like, whoa, I was in shock. I was scared. I said, I wasn't ready. I thought it was going to be like once a month. I take somebody. So the next thing I knew, I had a new career. And we did it a lot. We were at it for 5 years here. But after we took the website down, we continued because we had a lot of clients that would, phone us up and say, "Come on, man, let's do something." We even had one guy. He flew us all over the place. He was a millionaire. Most of our clients were very wealthy, and he flew us to Hawaii. We stayed at his mansion, and he let us have the keys to his fleet of cars. We went all over the place with him. He was very, very nice guy. He had a boating tour. It was called Kai Kanan. He had a huge yacht. He would take everybody snorkeling, and he did it all day long. He made tons of money doing that. So we had a lot of fun. Then we met a lot of famous people. Now, I didn't actually meet Tony Robbins. He was, this isn't my picture, I got this off the internet, but his ex-wife, Becky Robbins, she called me up, said, or emailed me and said, "I'm broke, I need a cheap camera, something used and whatever." And I go, "Yeah, okay." So I went through all this trouble to find her some used gear. And then she She showed up with a brand new Maserati and about $200,000 worth of, she had huge diamonds, 5 diamonds on each ear. They were 2 carats apiece. And I said, you want to go out here into the dirt? And don't you want to hide those in the car? She said, no, don't worry about it. There's Elena taking a picture. But anyway, she was quite the character. She was always doing tricks. So she handed me her camera after we'd been shooting and said, check my pictures to make sure they're okay. Well, that morning she'd had a little sexual trias with her boyfriend, and they had all the pictures on the camera, and she handed it to me, and I was like, wow, these aren't bird pictures. And I quickly handed her the camera back. I said, we'll look at those later. So she was a real character, to say the least. So back to our 10 subjects, and we're going to do them in this order. That's how the route goes. Start here. And the first 2, we're going to use a specific technique, aperture priority. Then the rest, we're going to do all of those in manual exposure with flash. So let's get ready. What kind of gear? Well, a lot of people, I had the 800 and the 500 and all the different lenses, but really, when you get right down to it, this is really all you need. You can get really close with this, because with a crop body, like we said, the 1.6 crop on an APS-C camera, you are going to make this lens into a 640 millimeter lens at the long end, because this is a 100 to 400. So you get that crop. So you're going to want a giant flash. Don't rely on the little one. We want to use the biggest flash we can afford. And a lot of these flashes are very expensive. Like the new Canon one's $1,000. Just get a Godox or something. They're like $150. They're just as good. And but you will want a long zoom, as long as you can hold. And of course, you can use a full frame camera, but they're better for weddings and indoor photography, where you need wide. But when you want to bring objects far away, close, then the 1.6 crop is really a handy thing to have. And before you buy anything, check it out. Make sure you can lift the darn thing. I've had customers show up with stuff, and I was like, man, can you carry that? And they're like, yeah. And then they get halfway out of the car to the front door, and they're like, I don't know. So no tripods, unless you're using a big 600 or something. You really don't need a tripod. The image stabilization these days, really good. And so you'll save yourself the problem of people tripping over it, and also just carrying the big monster. So no tripods. And we had a lot of clients that took these giant backpacks. I had clients come in, they go, well, I got my, wide angle, mid, too many lenses, and all you need are 3 things: the flash, the camera body, and the zoom. That's it. Three things.
The longer the zoom, the better.
Yeah, as long as you can hold it. That's the key. Go test it at the camera store or borrow it from a friend. Lens Rentals is a good place to test them out. I always figure too, if you're going to go to the camera store and you're going to use their expertise, buy it there. You're going to save a few bucks if you buy it online, but I always felt like you owe it to the store if they're going to take care of you, and teach you about show you how much something costs. So anyway, anybody caught at the safari park with a tripod or a large backpack, well, you're going to jail.
Seriously?
Okay, maybe you can have a little backpack. Here's the one I recommend. 16 bucks, it fits in your pocket. It's a little tiny thing, and what it's good for, it's real cold in the morning at the park, even in the summer, because it's a desert climate pretty much out there. It's not like here at the beach. So it gets real cold in the morning, and then it gets real hot in the afternoon, or even by 10 o'clock. So you're going to want to have some place to store your jacket, and that's what it's good for. And once again, this weighs almost nothing. So, and then the other thing too, Elena did use the 100 to 400. She had that lens, and it was too heavy for her. So we sold it, and we got her a little 70 to 300. And she's patient. If you wait until the bird or the critter gets close enough, you can get the shot. You just have to be patient. But you can't spend, if you're going to do 10 images, 10 good shots, in 3 hours, you can't spend more than about 20 minutes at any one enclosure. So here's getting ready. We're going to tune your camera's JPEG now. A lot of people say, well, I shoot RAW. You do, but you cannot, when you look at the picture on the back of your camera, you're actually looking at a JPEG, because a RAW photograph is, you can't see it, it's invisible. It has to either be a JPEG or a TIFF or a PNG or something. So when you look at your picture on your camera's LCD, you want to be able to make it look like you want it. So you can invent your own style. So you're going to do a user-defined, you're going to make your own. Now with sharpness, if you take your JPEG and make it more sharp, it starts to look salt and peppery. It looks funny. Did I lose the, where's the button? We're good. Okay, I must have pushed the button. So leave the sharpness alone. That's standard. If you make it less sharp, it looks out of focus. If you make it too sharp, it gets that salt and peppery look. So the next thing, this is the biggie, contrast. Even the current digital cameras, they really add a lot of contrast to the image. You've seen that. You know, the whites get really brighter and the darks are darker. So I like to turn the contrast way down. And this is so that when we look at our picture on the back of our camera while we're shooting, that we get a nice look. And we're going to add just a touch of saturation, not too much. The color tone, we just leave it alone. This makes it more purple or green. So, but one of the things too, now this is just for the safari park. You would not want to do this if you were taking pictures of your family. People portraits don't look good like this. With people portraits, I usually turn the sharpness way down. We don't want to see the pores and the wrinkles. We want to leave the contrast down. Saturation, we do not want those bright spots, you know, the red spots. We don't want to see that. We want to see that way down. So I would make it everything over that way, except for color tone. So this is kind of customizing. So we're going to start with a big breakfast. You don't want to eat at the safari park. It's too expensive. Then you're going to kill half an hour while you're eating. So have a nice big breakfast. Wire up on coffee. The more the merrier. And we're going to show up at 8:30. Now 8:30 is the time you want to get there, be sure, and allow for traffic if you're driving in the middle of the week. Weekends you're going to have more people in the park, but less traffic getting there. But we want to arrive at 8:30 because, like I said, the lions are only active first thing in the morning. So the first place we're going to go is to the lions, and we got to be ready to just bolt straight there.
What time do they open up the gates for you to get in? Do they open at 8:30 or?
The gate opens at about 8, to the parking gate. The front door to get into the actual animals is 9 o'clock. So we would usually get there, set up, and then be in line to get in the door. Parking is now $20. It used to be included with your membership, not anymore. After COVID, they raised the prices, and you can only get one person in per pass. It used to be you could get two. So if you're a member or you're a resident of the county, San Diego County, it's $124. I think it's a little cheaper if you're senior. But it may seem like a lot, but if you look at how much it costs to go on a real photo safari to Africa, it's 20 grand plus airfare, plus you got to have your lens. And one thing too is that quite a few people that went on tours with us, they actually were going on one of these expensive tours later, and they wanted to like warm up with us. So that was one of the things that we saw regularly. You want to have some sun protection. I didn't take all these pictures. I thought they were kind of funny off the net. Put some sunscreen on, you know, a little extra. Wear your sunglasses. Don't want to cook your eyeballs. And the Tilly hat, that's one of my favorite things for sun protection. You can wash these, and they retain their shape. There aren't many hats that will do that. And also the brim is flexible. So when you put your face against the camera to look through the viewfinder, it bends out of the way. I also occasionally would use the buffs or both. I had a friend who's he's red-haired and he has a lot of problems with skin cancer, so he wears both. He wears a Tilly and a buff around his head and on his neck, so got to watch out. So these guys are funny. This is Elena. Now, basically, did a lot of the paperwork and sold the tours and made sure everything was copacetic. And once we got on the tour, Elena pretty much took over. She always used to say, "Don't follow Steve. He doesn't know what he's doing." He walked right by a really good picture. You know, I didn't see that animal. Elena's like, "Wait, over here." So she showed these guys, you know, how to do. The funny part about these two guys too, they're from Belgium. We took them to Santa. They booked us for a whole week, and we got a lot of that. And we got people that, you know, they were coming to California and they were from overseas, and they wanted a tour guide. So we used to pick them up at the hotel and drive them all around. We'd go to all the different places. And by the way, if you guys want to make a business out of it, being a photographer, it's wide open. I mean, San Diego is like the place to go if you're from Europe or even the rest of the United States. Everybody wants to come to the warm sunshine. San Francisco's kind of beat up right now. LA's got their problems. So people say, hey, San Diego, why not? It's a great place. Got all these parks, got the ocean. So, what I was going to tell you, we took these guys to Santee Lakes to shoot the ducks, but there was a car show on, and they didn't care about the ducks. They wanted to photograph cars. They had never seen old Model A's and muscle cars and stuff, so they had a blast. So here we go to the lines. As you can see, it's a long walk. Here's the entrance. Go all the way through the park. We're going to ignore the whole north part. There's lots going on up there, but it's not part of this loop that I'm going to show you. So you're going to go past some things that are maybe interesting, but don't stop. Go right to the lines, because if you miss them, you know, and they're sleeping, you're going to be.
Is there a Jeep that we can rent that'll take us there real quick?
It's not that hard of a walk. You just go down the elevator here, and then and there they are. They're characters.
So you didn't go on a truck, you just went to the pens.
Yeah, we never, well, I won't say never, we didn't take people out on the trams and the trucks. We just walked. There's Mr. Big, looking good. You just wait for a nice pose and have at it. There's little Jimmy. One thing that's nice too is if you wait until they look up a bit, you can grab a catch light. It adds a little bit to the picture. So next we're going over to the cheetahs, which are just a bit of a walk. You'll pass some restrooms, and if it's best to use them because you will not see restrooms for a long time after that. So wait for a yawn or something crazy. And one neat thing about the zoom lens is when something happens, like this cheetah, I was probably photographing the head. Somebody sneezed or a baby cried, and it jumped up. I'm like, what the heck is that? Scared the heck out of him. So when you have a zoom lens, you can back up and get the whole critter. So how do we do the cats? First two, no flash. It makes their eyes look really weird. Green, and it's hard to fix it in Photoshop. So put your camera to aperture priority.
Can you go back one slide?
Sure. Aperture, for some reason they call it AV. What is that? Aperture value, I guess. That's a Canon thing. Most of them just say A. So we got the camera in aperture. Now we have the 100 to 400 wide open is at 5.6. So we're going to shoot the lens wide open. But some of the longer zooms these days that are lighter, their aperture, the maximum opening would be f8 or even f11. So if you have a lens that is f8 maximum opening, you would double your ISO. So f8 would give you 1600, f11 would give you 3200. So use that. Yeah, you can just double as you go. So there's our ISO for this. And then in this situation, the camera chose 6/40th of a second, which is typically what it will do there. Now, if it's a really overcast day, it may go below 500. So don't let it go below 500. If it does, that's 1/500th of a second. So we're at 640 here. Raise your ISO just a little bit. Try to keep that shutter speed up. And then we're going to use high-speed drive. Bam, 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 bam. We want to get a lot of pictures. And the only problem with that is some of these new cameras shoot 30 frames per second or more. They're going to have a lot of editing to do when you get home. So you may want to turn that down. But if you're patient, when you do your editing, you can sometimes find a really neat shot that you wouldn't have even seen with your naked eye.
So you said if it's ISO 800,
ISO 800.
I meant if the
So we go back here, ISO 800. Now, if we were at f8, you would just double the ISO. That makes up for it. We want to have the same amount of light coming through the to the sensor.
Okay.
So high-speed drive, and then of course the beauty with the current rigs is we have autofocus. Back in the bad old days, no autofocus. We used to manually focus, and we missed a lot of good shots that way. And servo will mean when the critter goes in and out, it automatically adjusts your focus, which saves a lot of work. And I really never had any luck with I call this scattergun, where everything is lit up. But I'm using an old camera, so the newer cameras may be better. But I always use center point focus. Now, if your camera has eye tracking, you're going to want to use that for sure, because it's just a better system. I do not own a camera, never have, that had eye tracking. So, and then on white balance, the weird thing about the Canon cameras is white balance it looks better sunny, even if you're using flash. So the flash would be a lightning bolt, but it's too yellow. So on the Canon cameras, I always just leave it on sunny. But I had a Nikon as well, so that usually looked a little better with the.
How'd you get him to do that?
I borrowed these off the net. Check your pictures as you go. Make sure you're getting what you want. So if it's a little too dark, sometimes the lands are backlit. You're going to add a little light so that they're properly exposed. So now we're going to drop down the hill of the flamingos, and we're going to do a new technique. Forget about the aperture priority. For the flamingos, we're going to go manual exposure, no flash yet. Put the camera in manual. And now this is the key to one of the things that we always taught people to do. It's called 2211, 200th of a second, 200 ISO and f11. So remember that, because we're going to be using it for the remaining 8 creatures. Mainly controls the background, the overall picture. So we're locked in at that. So we see this picture, we go, well, that's 2211, but it's a dud picture, Steve. It didn't work, did it? Too dark. But it made the sky look pretty good. It wasn't just a totally burned out sky. So what do? Turn the flash on. Cigars are optional. And we change our drive. Instead of the machine gun, we want to go with one-shot advance. Because if you do the machine gun, you're going to burn up your flash, and it's hard on the batteries, even if you let off quick. So once again, one-shot drive, you go click, 1, 2, let it recharge. So there it is, a lot better with flash. Now, if this was actually going to be a portrait, I would have had it set differently. You want a big softbox. You want the light to be coming down from the top. You want some shading underneath the chin. You don't want as much saturation. But this was a set. She was a client, and we were in the parking lot setting up, and I just wanted to demonstrate the 2211.
You should teach a lighting class. You seem like you're well educated in lighting.
Well, that's what photography is all about. Photography and lighting, it's almost like it's the same thing, isn't it? So anyway, flash mainly controls your subject brightness, because here comes a flash, bam, hits you, and then it falls off usually before it hits the background. So use the flash in ETTL, that's electronic through the lens. So the flash is going to do the work of deciding how much to put out. And the neat thing about it is most of them have this plus minus where you can make the flash stronger or darker. So be sure to read your manual before you go to the park. Make sure you know how to get to this, because these big flashes can be rather complex. And there's a gizmo that you can put on now. If you've got a critter that's way in the back, you want to get the flash to go farther out, you can get this thing. It's ridiculously expensive, like most stuff photographically. But it's called a Visual Echoes Better Beamer. And all it is a magnifying glass. It's a piece of plastic. Now, one thing you want to do, you can leave the wings, the ears on your flash while you're walking around, but take this off. This attaches, this clear thing attaches with Velcro. The reason you want to take it off is if you forget, like I did, this is actually a magnifying glass. And when the light comes in from the sun, it puts a real bright spot on your flash. I burned a hole in a brand new $600 flash one time. So I only had to do that once to get very aware of what not to do. So take that off. If you don't necessarily need this too, this is kind of an option. Once again, check your pictures as you go. And so we go down and we get, this is our 2211 with a flash. It fills in the dark spots nicely. So we're going to go across the lake to the hornbills. And here's a place where we have a bright background and a dark bird. So we're going to add flash. This is a typical situation where you would go plus on the flash and just keep checking it until you get how you like the exposure. And then this is the opposite. This is a dark background where the bird goes on a shaded area. You have to turn the flash down, otherwise it'll burn up. So the more you practice this, the more you're going to you can just look at a scene and go, needs less, needs more. It kind of becomes second nature. So we're going to go next, and this is real close. Secretary birds are right next to the hornbills, and they're gorgeous. And this is the one place that I would use the flash extender if they go to the back of the enclosure, because it's real deep. And these guys sometimes get far away. Then we're going to go to the crown cranes, we're going to cross a service road and go to it's like a raised platform, and the critters are all down below. So this is pretty much a neutral shot.
Did you use flash?
Yes, I'm a flash fanatic. I love flash. But occasionally it's fun to just leave the flash off and try to see if you can find a situation where you can get it nice without it. But when you're guaranteeing a client 10 great shots, you can't hang around and wait for ideal light to be coming through from the sun. You got to have pretty much take control over the light, and that's where you're going to use the flash.
So you're close enough to that bird when you took the flash that the flash actually startled the bird, or no?
I would say that probably the flash would go really strongly from here to that back wall. Now, if they start going out as far as the black curtains, you're going to start wanting to use that magnifier, because it really adds. The only bummer with the magnifier is sometimes it's misaligned, so it makes the flash ball a lot smaller. So sometimes it's crooked, and maybe you'll see there's a really bright spot to the right of the bird, and the bird didn't get any flash at all. So sometimes you have to bend it a little bit. It takes a little fooling around with, but if you're stuck, it's one way to go. Now that was a white bird, so we probably backed off the flash a little bit. This is a Egyptian vulture. It's one of our 10, and this guy here is a hooded vulture. I don't include him in the 10 images because they're kind of ugly looking. So then we're going to go to the gorillas. So when we leave the vulture enclosure, we go right over to the elevator that we came down to get to the lions in the morning, and boom, we go over to the gorilla forest. And that's a fun place to go. These guys are so human-like. This guy's like telling, it's probably his older brother. He's like, didn't you see what I told you? I told you not to do that. Look what happened. You can just imagine what he's saying. They look so human-like.
Looks like he's greeting him, like he's like. Nice.
You think he's greeting him?
Yeah, with his hand.
I don't know, he's got an expression on his face like he's a little bit perturbed, actually.
Where's the change?
Yeah, where's the change? And once again, they're very human-like. Here's the whole family, mom, dad, and Junior. They're all there. And typically, the flash did reach far enough. I did notice on rare occasion that he sometimes would wince if I hit him with the flash, and if that happened, I shut it off. Um, he he seemed somewhat sensitive to the flash. None of the others seemed to mind, but you know, don't be. If you think that it's bothering somebody, and you can tell just by looking at the response when you press the button. But he's the only guy I ever noticed that the flash bothered him. So we're going to go over to the meerkats, and we're going to cross the waterfall there that goes into the pond. Now, you can see one of the reasons that the flash adds so much. We've got a lot of sunlight coming in here, and this area here would be all dark. So the flash fills in the dark. I'm going to go over, this is our last critter, the blue macaw. Once again, 2211.
Go back one.
Back one, the blue macaws. They're also called hyacinth macaws. Anyway, the blue macaws are, they're just gorgeous. And the 2211, it's just bulletproof. You can shoot these guys all day with that. You can also, just go back to aperture and forget about the flash, but I like the way it pops them off the background.
How are you getting them, I guess, black?
Typically, they're in an enclosure that has like a roof,
It is black.
and it's dark behind them. So, and these guys are, you can almost touch them. They get so close. You don't ever have to use any kind of you don't have to use that plastic thing I showed you that magnifies it. One of the reasons that they're so close to you is they're part of the replacements. Now, say we were there, we promised you guys 10 shots. Well, maybe one of them never presented a good pose. Maybe one of them was off. Maybe the whole gang was off. If they were, we would be sweating. But anyway, sometimes one of the critters, they're off. Maybe they were sick or they're redoing the enclosure. So we had some backups. And they put a lot of macaws right at the front entrance because they're very beautiful. They're easy to photograph. You can get real close to them. And they're a great replacement. So you can get the green one, you can get a scarlet macaw. So hopefully we've showed you how to get 10 subjects in 3 hours. And one of the optional ways that I've seen lately, this is, my son-in-law has this camera. And it's actually a telephone, but it's more of a camera to me. The Ultra, the S25 Ultra, it has a zoom lens. It's unreal. Now, I don't have this. I have an iPhone 16 because everybody in our family, except for this guy, has an iPhone. So I want to be, part of the group, and you can FaceTime and stuff. But anyway, he let me borrow this. Now we weren't at the safari park, but we were doing the jets flying around that they do every so often up in Miramar, and I was just shocked. So this gives you a 50 meg picture, and now it's 10x is 500 millimeters, so it's optically 10x, so you get 500 millimeters. Hey, Ron Garrison, how you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you in years. He's one of the judges here. He was a zoo photographer for how many years, Ron? 38 years. He was the zoo photographer. He was actually paid by the zoo. He didn't just go in there and mess around. He did all the pro stuff. But anyway, so you're going to get 500 millimeters optically, and then at 100x, you're going to get 5,000 millimeters. So you can actually use a telephone these days as a trick camera, and I tell you, I'm shocked at how good the pictures look out of my
A
iPhone.
lot lighter to carry around all day.
Oh yeah, a lot lighter. Actually, even though it looks expensive, when you figure out how much a camera, lens and all the rig, it's pretty good deal. Plus, it's it does act as a telephone if you're desperate, I guess. Does a lot of other stuff too. You got your calculator and all your stuff. So anyway, this is my camera. So it's an old turkey. It's
That's a full frame, right?
No, this is a 1.6 crop. It's a 70 Mark II. And since everybody's going with, not everybody, but a lot of people are going with mirrorless, these have really dropped in price. This was probably $1,800 brand new. You can get a nice one for $443. Adorama has them. You can get them at B&H. You can get them at there's a place called MPB. So you can buy them online, and they guarantee that they are good. It's not like buying.
They just sell the used ones, they don't have new ones.
Oh no, they have new ones too. Yeah, I doubt if this is still being sold. I think it's been replaced. But anyway, you can get a lot of good stuff. And then the little lens that Elena uses, you can get it for $500. That's the L. Uh, and you know, if you go looking around at B&H or KEH, or there's just shop around, get on your Google search and have at it. You can find some really great deals. Because a lot of people buy cameras and lenses, and they use them a little bit, and then they stop. They put them in the closet, and they find some other hobby. So a lot of these, I pretty much bought used equipment, well, not exclusively, but as much as possible because it was such a good deal. And once again, my $600 flash, you can get it for $150. Now, a lot of people say, well, heck with that, and that's a DSLR. We don't want that anymore. We want to look through the viewfinder and see what we're going to get. And that's a big advantage. So you can get these guys, these mirrorless cameras have been around long enough. You can get a nice R7. Now, all the different brands, they all have a similar camera. If you're Sony or Nikon or whatever, they've got a camera just like this. Now, this is a crop body, 1.6 crop. And it has a whopping 32 megapixels. So you're going to be styling with that.
Can you go back to the slide just before that one?
Wait a minute, wrong way. This guy,
Yeah.
the Adorama. Adorama has a lot of good stuff.
Thank you.
So now this is an interesting lens. It's quite large. I would not buy it unless I tried it first. It's
200, 800?
Yeah, it's 200, 800. Remember what I was telling you though? Not 5.6. Well, some of these now, maximum opening, f9. That's why what they did is they made the 800 a lot smaller. This is much smaller. It's about, yeah. Now, I wouldn't say it's a tiny lens, but it weighs way less than an 800 millimeter f5.6 or a 600 f4. And they're way cheaper. The 600 f4s, what, 10 grand, 15 grand? So these are way cheaper, way lighter, but they don't open up as far. So the ISO these days, it's so clean. Used to be, you couldn't go over 200 or it was too grainy. Couldn't go over 800. Every year it gets better and better. Now you can shoot at really high ISOs at small apertures and still have a clean picture. So audios to the safari park. Go home, put all your pictures on your computer. And one way to sort them that makes it a little easier is if you do like that. Now I have archives that go back to 2003, and I know pretty much where everything is because this is how I stack it. So I have one folder that's all 2025. I have another folder that's all 2024, and then inside the folder I have these individual files. So that's today, right? 2025, but you don't put the 20, you just put the 25. 06 is today, June, and then that's the 20th. And then do lines. So you put all your lines in there, then you would do the same for your cheetahs. Just, if you get home and you got 5,000 pictures or 2,000 pictures, you go, oh my God, I don't want to look at that. It's such an intimidating situation, So you throw all your lines in there and then you get rid of all the rejects real quick. And then maybe you come down to your 5 best and you go, okay, I'm going to tweak that in Photoshop or Lightroom. You get your best, and then you can throw them on Facebook. You got to show off, Come on, look at my pictures. Aren't they cool? So I post almost every day on Facebook picture. I do also a lot of photographs with my iPhone. It's great unless you want to go really far. So the iPhone is a wonderful tool. and I post a lot. The neat thing about Flickr, I don't post that much anymore on Flickr, but I've got a huge archive there of probably 500 pictures. You can see, say you see a photograph. You say, oh, gee, that's a cool photograph. How did they do that? Now, when you click on that, it'll show you the camera that the person used and the setting. So it will give you your aperture, your ISO, and your shutter speed. So this can be a learning tool when you go there. Now, not everybody posts their EXIF data. I do, because I want to help people get better pictures. Some people, they want it secret, like I got this secret thing going, and I don't want anybody to know about it because I want to have an exclusive. Oh, this crazy picture up here. We're shooting. You can do a long burn, and then go in front of the camera. Say it's a 10-second burn. Go in front of the camera and hold a flash in front of your face and go boop boop boop, and that's all one shot. But the camera was open. The lens was open for a long time, and I just stepped in front of the lens and took the flash and went bam, bam, bam. I was seeing stars for the next 10 minutes. Instagram's another fun place to go. I pretty much stick with Facebook. I don't have enough energy at this age, 74, to keep up with all the different places you can post. So, and this was who put pictures in the thing this time? Here. About half of you, maybe a third of you. You put pictures in. Hope you did well. Well, when I was in the photo clubs, the competition, we were shooting slides, and the guy showed up with a stack of prints. And I went, wow, those are great. Who printed those for you? He goes, I printed them for myself. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, I got this machine. It'll scan a slide, put it into my computer, and then it goes through a printer. I go, really? I was just shocked. He goes, come over to my house. I'll show you how to do it. So he showed me the deal. And the same day, I went out and bought the whole enchilada. I got the whole deal. I got my first computer, monitor, scanner, all the stuff. I broke for months after that, but I had so much fun printing, and that's when I started putting pictures in here a lot. Originally, I was paying somebody to make the prints because I didn't have a way to get them off the slides. But then once I figured out how to do it myself, I was a maniac. We were putting in. Elena would put in 10. They had a limit back then. It was 10 for you, 10 for me. We were just doing it every year. This was back in like 25 years ago. We were all over this place. We got we got first, second, third, honorable mentions, tons of kick out, So we were here on the wall regularly. And then eventually I became a judge here and stopped putting in my pictures. Well, I was thinking if I put my pictures in and I judged them myself, I would definitely give myself a 10, right? No, can't do that. Anyway, so eventually, I got to do, I went to the San Bernardino County Fair, I did the Orange County Fair, and I will say that the presentation here, the way that this is the best. The San Diego County Fair, our presentation here just blows everybody else in the dirt. They are not nearly as great. So bravo to you guys. So, to be continued. You guys can make a business out of this. Think of all the people that are coming to San Diego. And maybe you're retired, you want a few extra bucks. Put up a website or something and say, hey, you wanna have a tour guide take you around San Diego? We'll take you, to the safari park, the zoo. You can go to the Point Loma Lighthouse. You can go up to the mountains and see
Can
the.
you do that again, Steve?
Probably not. My back is kind of messed up. My lower back, I used to race motorcycles, motocross, and I did it for years, and I had my share of accidents, broken bones, whatnot. I was a fool.
What about your lovely wife? What does she think?
She, what do you want to do? You want to go out and do some more? We still take pictures. We hang out with a bunch of photographers. It's a lot of fun, but we don't do it for a business anymore. We sure could, and you guys could too. It's a fun way to go. San Diego's a tourist trap. Take advantage. So happy image making to all of you. Every day is a school day, right? That's the beauty of photography. you get up to a situation, hey, it's a challenge. How am I going to take this picture? You know, every lighting situation is unique. Every subject is slightly different than the other one. So every day as a school day is really what photography is all about. So if you want to get a hold of me, I'm old school. Everybody is using text. Our kids are like, text. We don't do this anymore. We didn't, guys, this is ancient. I go, I'm an email guy. It's just my name, you know, at Gmail. Now, see this? Why is my back messed up? That's why. One of the reasons. You know, this was before they had those tilting screens, so you had to bend down and put a crook in your neck. It was nuts. But you know, I was whatever it took. I was going to get that picture. When I was in competition photography, there was nothing I wouldn't do. Nuts. So hopefully we're all ready to hit the safari park and get those 10 images. And we did tons of tours, group tours, but you know, we did tons of individual ones too. And we had lots of repeat customers, and it was really a lot of fun. So thanks for coming, and thank you for coming out.
Are you gonna put the tape up on the internet? Didn't you take?
Yeah, I could put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, I will. Okay, I do know that on YouTube, you have to spell my whole name with an N. StevenCirone. If you just do Steve, which is what I usually go by, you won't find me. So, and believe it or not, there's a whole bunch of Steve Cirones out there. Yeah, I will put it up. It's Steven Cirone. And when you go to Gmail, that's not Gmail, YouTube. See, I've been videoing this, so it'll be. I'll put it up on YouTube probably tonight.
Okay.
And that way you can see it if there's anything.
you.
Or you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or what do they do?
How about right now?
What do they have? The YouTube guys always say, click here and subscribe. Click here and give me a thumbs up. Well, I'm not in business anymore, so I did have lots of business cards, but since I'm no longer in business, maybe we can just remember. Any other odds and ends questions? You got it? Hope you guys get out and get some great pictures at the park. And most of these things, they apply well to the zoo. The zoo is popping. You know, that's the place. In the summertime, the zoo is the place to go. It gets so darn hot at the safari park that, you know, you just get barbecued. So the zoo, much closer to the beach, a lot cooler. And we have the king of the zoo photographers here, Ian Gill. He is at the zoo every day almost, and he gets the shots you wouldn't believe. He knows all the zookeepers. He knows the animals know him by it. Yeah, I'm saying, I'm trying to get Ian to do one of these for the zoo, and he's like, I don't know, maybe put a little pressure on him. But if you go to the zoo and you see Ian Gill, he's going to be there he hangs around a lot around that big aviary. What's that aviary called? Africa Rocks. He's there all the time. And you shoot a similar rig to what I have, right? He has the R7, that crop body camera. And what's the lens?
100/500.
100/500. That's the RF. That's the one that's made to go on the camera.
It's the best zoom cameras ever made.
Yeah. And if you want to cheap out, you can get the little 70-300, I think it's called.
With the adapter, if you get the mirror.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we're good to go. Thanks again.
Thank you.